Why my eyes, sir? You've never used them before.
It's no secret that the Super Bowl halftime show is traditionally choreographed with cymbals and theatrical musical presentations for a social engineering effort and propaganda in front of the largest audience television has to offer, and designed to cast a spell over the minds of the masses for the order of the New World. According to Madonna, not everyone gets to go to the New World. Only the enlightened ones, the special ones, the elite. So what happens to everyone else? The performance opens with The Weeknd passing through a golden gate appearing to drive into the heart of the city of Las Vegas, otherwise known as Sin City. Welcome, the sign reads, seated between two pillars and a globe planted above the pillar on the screen's left. The twin pillars is an esoteric symbol used at the entrances to Masonic lodges. It represents the gateway to the intellectual awakening of the candidate and his mature development as a free thinker. Modern secret societies such as these came into their present form during the Age of Enlightenment, and to be a free thinker in those terms meant being completely liberated from any established Judeo-Christian thought and free to discover the teachings and philosophies of the ancient mystery schools. The twin pillars, which once stood at the gate of Solomon's temple, is thought to be the gateway to the unknown, a symbol of mysticism, of mystical thought, of alchemy, representing the equilibrium of two opposing forces. In York Rite masonry, the pillars are most often seen with a globe placed on top. The celestial globe, or fireball atop the Jachin pillar, symbolized divine man, while the terrestrial globe, as seen here, represents earthly man. If you look closer, it's actually 3 pillars. A symbol used in Kabbalah, it was thought that when the 2 pillars found equilibrium, a 3rd pillar was generated in the middle, representing man. These 3 pillars of the tree of life represents wisdom, strength, and beauty. Since the dawn of civilization, twin pillars have stood at the gates of sacred places. In Plato's account, the lost city of Atlantis was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, placing it in the realm of the unknown. Ancient mystery school tradition says that the pillars were inscribed with a warning, a Latin phrase, nec plus ultra, which means nothing further beyond. Going beyond the pillars meant leaving this world and moving into the realm of enlightenment. In this case, the use of pillars probably represents a transformation or initiation. And it's interesting that the York Rite Masons traditionally wear red suit jackets and black ties. And only Master Masons can join the ranks of the York Rite. Once the weekend passes through the gate, he gets out of the car and takes a seat over the city. High above him, an angelic being begins to descend as Gregorian chants begin. The red eyes suggest the synergy of divinity being infused with technology. The central tenet of Luciferian transhumanist belief is that the next phase of human evolution can only be accomplished with combining flesh with machine and artificial intelligence. Human biology does not evolve as Darwin promised. With the aid of man's sophisticated tools, humanity can move to the next stage of evolution and closer to becoming gods themselves.
People don't necessarily understand or even accept the fact that we might be able to live forever. And for me, that's the main thing about transhumanism, which is different than other things.
Sure, so I just like to say transhumanism is an international social movement of people trying to use science and technology to radically modify or improve the human body and improve the human experience. And that could range from anything from bionic hearts to artificial limbs to cranial implants to driverless cars. Some people will say transhumanism was the first time a primate picked up a rock and made an axe out of it. The primary goal of transhumanism is to try to overcome biological death.
The angel, representing Lucifer, descends into a choir of his clones. The religious symbolism here is impossible to deny, and a choir suggests a mass or religious service is about to begin. And it is. This is a Luciferian ritual, and has been in this venue for at least the last 30 years. The camera pans across the myriads of red-eyed cyborg demons, all working in unison for this mass that is about to begin. Each of them is standing above a city, a building, almost to say that each is stationed over its own city. The Bible tells us that there is a demon assigned to rule over nations. Of course, Satan is the ruler of this present world, ruling the nations of the earth. The ranks split, and out of the brightly lit center emerges the weekend. Is he an enlightened one? Has he ascended to the ranks of divinity? A word about this city theme being represented here. The global elite who are at this moment attempting to usher us into the order of the new world, now renamed as the Great Reset, have written books detailing their philosophy and their plans. One of them, part of Agenda 21 and Agenda 30, is to destroy suburban neighborhoods and corral everyone into smart cities, where we will mostly live alone in tiny coffin-like apartments and work from home. This is their idea of an industrial, sustainable living environment. The bulk of your human contact will be through a computer screen or monitor. After what we've been through this last year, the big P word, the oligarchs are really pushing the alone message. Remember this Orwellian ad campaign featuring some diabolical doublespeak?
The alone together thing makes me feel good, because just like anything else bad that you have to face in your life, if you don't have to face it alone, it just feels so much better. You know what I mean? And literally, no one is alone in this.
In the smart city, the ideal, according to these godless designers, is everyone will be isolated under constant surveillance and control. You won't own a thing, and according to them, you will be happy. Incidentally, if you don't own anything, where can you stand to exercise your individual rights and liberties? If you don't own anything, you have no place to stand to express your own freedom. It was interesting to me that when the lights would flash a certain way, these buildings began to look like tombstones in an old graveyard, each tombstone with a transhuman demon assigned to each of the dead. There was a post going around on social media that The Weeknd flashed Satan as part of his visuals during this performance. It turns out that was from a previous performance back in 2017. Of course, Satan is still represented in this performance, symbolized by the fallen angel of transhumanism, among many other symbols. That's one thing people need to realize about the beliefs and worldview of these elite globalists. It's Luciferian. In this anti-religion, they believe mankind will evolve into gods. That is, if they emulate their archetypal master, Lucifer.
In the mystery schools, they refer to this mystical time coming out of the age of innocence as the Luciferian philosophy. I've tried to illuminate you with this for years on my radio broadcast. In the Bible or in the church, they talk about the fall of man. The same thing. There's only one difference between the Luciferian philosophy and the fall of man, is that those who talk about the fall of man believe in God, whether or not they believe in a Savior, they believe in God. The ones who believe in the Luciferian philosophy do not. In the Bible we're told that Eve was tempted by Satan to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God had commanded Adam and Eve not to eat of the fruit of that tree. If you do, ye will surely die. Isn't that the commandment? Lucifer, through his age of Satan, on the other hand, told Eve, God lied to you. He's holding back the fact that you too can become God. But first you have to eat of the fruit of this tree. And if you do, you will surely not die, but shall become as gods. Isn't that true? Mysteries, on the other hand, look at this in a different light. Here's their story. It's a metaphor. They don't believe that there ever was a God, or that there ever is a God, aside from man himself. And man has not reached that state yet, but can, and this is what they teach in the lodges, that if you perfect yourself as the temple of the God within, and become Christed, we've all heard this in the New Age movement, you too can become God. You know the movie, running on the beach, spinning around, I am God. Adam and Eve were held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, cruel, and vindictive God, until Lucifer, through his agent Satan, set man free from this garden by giving him the gift of intellect. Through the use of intellect, man will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God. It's taught in every Masonic temple in this land, every secret brotherhood, every secret society, every mystical temple, every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy. They do not believe in Lucifer. They do not believe in any entity called a devil, and they do not believe in God. It is a mistake for you to assume that they do. They're atheists in the strictest sense of the word. They are humanists. That's their religion. At the highest level, their goal is to create a world in which the adepts, the 1,000 points of light, working behind the veil to create the culmination of the great plan, can realize the ultimate happiness for mankind.
Next, he passes through this golden hall of mirrors and is met with a horde of his clones with bandages wrapped around their heads. The Weeknd has stated to the press that the bandages represent absurd Hollywood and the plastic surgery everyone is getting to manage their illusions of youth for the business. But The Weeknd himself has recently had plastic surgery and had been seen wearing bandages around his head. I've seen this bandaged head symbol used in other occult and New World Order related groups. For example, remember New, the clothing line for the New World Order? On their Instagram page, many haunting satanic images. And among them, a young girl with a completely bandaged head. Also, while doing my Von Trier video for The House That Jack Built a while back, I stumbled across an amateur film he made when he was just 14 years old. Von Trier is one of the foulest Luciferians in the film industry I've seen in recent years, and he has a protege following straight in his footsteps, Ari Aster, writer and director of Hereditary, Midsommar, and other horror films of this new genre, where the director tends to draw the audience right into the storyline using certain camera tricks, trapping the viewer into participating with the on-screen ritual. In Von Trier's homemade early horror film, he's depicted here with a fully bandaged head. Von Trier comes from a Luciferian family and a very troubling childhood and suffers from debilitating depression, episodes so dark that they've spawned movies like Antichrist and Melancholia. The esoteric meaning of the bandage head remains a mystery to me. If any of you have knowledge of this, please share it in the comments or send me an email. If I were to take a guess, it seems like some type of torture ritual related to MKUltra or other system of mind control or ritual abuse. The marching hordes of clones to me represents the lack of individual identity. It represents collectivism. Everyone is the same in the Antichrist beast system of forced collectivism and hive-mindedness. Of course, he closes out the show with the infamous Jesus Christ pose. Then he walks away as all his face-bandaged clones appear to have died or expired. This is clearly a ritual in the Super Bowl occult tradition, rich with symbols and a clear message of their philosophy and intent for humanity now and in the near future.